things we're dealing with are threats to humanity unlike anything the world has ever seen before.
We can bequeath our children a greener planet and a more prosperous future.
That's what climate change is about. It is literally, not figuratively, a clear and present danger.
If unprecedented changes are not made and made soon, there will be irreversible damage to the planet.
Zero carbon.
East Talk. Hello and welcome to Zero Carbonista Series 5, Just Stop the Tories. I'm Ian Collins, and this is the number one go-to podcast that you must seek out for all matters environment-based. If it's green, it is in. And we've got a right stack of savoury delights here, Dale. And I think we should start with right wingnut.
We've got some unsavoury ones as well.
And some unsavoury ones too. What's Lee Anderson been up to? You've been getting name-checked in the House of Commons.
Yeah, I mean, that one's like really surprising. I mean, what he said was averagely surprising, but the response of a Tory minister, that's what really blew the lid off for me. But I'll start from the beginning. He stands up in the House. He misquotes from a report that's just out talking about poverty and net zero. He misquotes from it and says that basically the ruthless pursuit of net zero is going to make 40% of people worse off or something like that. And he said that will make like rich eco fanatics like me more money that I can give to them people over there, pointing to the other side of the House of Commons, to Labour. And then he asked the Tory minister a question, some kind of assurance he was looking for. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but the minister said to him that the assurance I can give you is that the only way Dale Vince gets influence in government policy is if people vote for your party, Reform. And I'm like, what?
Really?
Suddenly I'm the bogeyman. I can't understand the triangulation, actually, but, vote Reform, get me, is what he's saying.
That's extraordinary.
It was a bit stunning. It made me laugh. I mean, those people.
Is he going back to PR school, this minister?
I don't know where they live, what planet they live in or on. Did we talk about the diamond thing last week?
No, because that came up, didn't it, somewhere as well? I don't think we got to that. Somebody was questioning the authenticity of your diamonds, weren't they?
Yeah, they were, actually. And our friends in the right-wing media made much of it. I think it was the Telegraph that ran a twisted version headline of that and then withdrew it in the usual style. We challenge them, they withdraw it, and they say, sorry, Gov, but we fixed it now. They said our stones were fake, which they're not. They are diamonds. But basically, the big diamond industry have this little group called the Natural Diamond Council. It's basically a trade lobby group. I think the chairman is from De Beers, and it represents De Beers, Rio Tinto, all the big bad miners of the world, I would say. And they made an ASA complaint that basically people would be misled by our website and our adverts in the way that we talk about how we make our stones. Obviously, we do talk about making our stones. We talk about where the ingredients come from and stuff like that. But they somehow persuaded the ASA that we weren't being clear enough that we make them rather than dig them from the ground. There's an exceptional interpretation of everything. And we're appealing it at the moment. But yeah, my right-wing friends went mad for it. Mike Graham, he loved it. It's like...
I saw that, yeah.
And, that was like, it was a bit intense when that came out. And frustrating, it's just frustrating because we don't want to be confused with a Doug diamond, as we've been making this point, that to make a single carat of stone, which is 1/5 of a gram in weight, these guys, Rio Tinto, De Beers, dig 1,100 tons of rock out of the ground using high explosives. They expose 30 tons of toxic metal to the environment and use 5 tons of water and create 0.5 ton of greenhouse gas. And that is for 1/5 of a gram of diamond. And we're saying there's no way we want to be confused with that. We're very clear that we make our stones from the sky, from the wind, the sun, the rain, and excess carbon. But the ASA ruled that we had to add words like lab grown and, some pretty unappealing terminology, which the mined industry is trying to force on the man-made industry. It's not very different to what's happening in the food sector, where the animal farming lobby have prevented people that make oat milk from actually calling it oat milk. And they're also fighting now to own words like sausage and pie and burger.
That's a good point.
It's just incredible.
This is a lab-grown pie.
Not that, but you can't have a vegan pie. And it's a desperate attempt to own the language around things that we all understand, and say, well, no, you can't have that. Anyway, we're appealing it, and I'm confident that we'll win.
I'm sure. You had an interview with my Julia Hartley-Brewer this week.
I did. And, I got off, it was about 15 minutes. I got off the end of that and I thought to myself, blimey, why did I do that? It was quite upsetting, quite unsettling. It was a battle. She's hectored me all the way, or heckled me, I don't know what it was, all the way through. And at one point, she tried to talk over me. She asked me a question. As soon as I started to answer, she tried to talk over me, and I just kept talking, and then I just kept talking. And so did she for a minute or two. And at the end, I said, I can play this game too if you want. I can just keep talking, and you could just keep talking. But where does that get us, right? Nobody hears anything. And she said, well, go on then. She let me speak. She let me speak for a little bit, but she couldn't resist it, help herself. But it's a funny old conversation. She's got a crazy worldview, honestly, it was mostly about the grid, I think, how, we need to build nuclear power stations and gas power stations, and we're not. And I said, if you forgot about Hinkley, I don't care to recount it, actually. I'm just going to I want to.
You'll get PTSD if you do that, Dale.
I think I might.
You need that eradicated from your mind.
Well, we put some lovely clips up online. There were some fabulous moments. She's like, I've read these reports. I've done my research. And I said to her, which reports? And she went blank and looked and then hung her head on the desk and went, oh, I give up with you. I said, because you don't know, do you? I mean, she was making it up.
And is that how it ended?
No, we went on for longer than that. And I'm not
no, if only.
it ended.
That's how it started.
Yeah. I'm not sure I'm going to do it again, honestly, because I'll go on like Mike Graham's show or anybody's right-wing show, Piers Morgan, Nigel Farage, don't care if I can have a conversation.
I'll have a word. I think
I was just clickbait. She just like, I've got that Dale Vince on now. Ha, ha, ha. Rub hands together. Let's
see what happens.
Yeah, see what happens.
And then over at GB News, under the same auspices of what we're discussing here, apparently they've received a legal letter as well. This is all part of the kind of libel allegations and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, we're like a law firm the last couple of weeks. So, my time is spent in illegal stuff. We're winning. Fabricant has retracted and issued a non-apology apology or non-existent apology. The one he said, I have apologized, but he hasn't. We've got some newspapers to change the headlines, and we're pursuing a couple of issues. There's so much going on. I can't even remember who's caved in and who's fighting it, but except for Tice. Tice is fighting it, and it's crazy. He's countersued. I think I mentioned this last week. He's saying that I've libeled him by calling him a far-right leader. And, my logic is the Reform Party is a far-right party. We all know that. He doesn't like it being said for some reason. And if he's the leader of far-right parties, surely he's a far-right leader, And I'm thinking, surely you don't want to go to court to argue about this. I can't believe that he does. It's all part of the fun. It's all part of the fun of being me right now.
It's all part of the fun of being Dale Vince, Casey. I'd like to see you up there with a wig and a gavel. That's what I'd like, Dale, in the Old Bailey. He used to be into all that green stuff, and then he went into the law profession.
I've been in a few legal scraps, and I don't enjoy that part, but I enjoy the arguments and the constructions, behind the arguments to make your case, right? I get it, I understand it,
yeah.
And I don't mind doing it. And it's about logic at the end of the day, logic, and in my case, truth and honesty, but not always on the other side. But anyway, I'm banging on now.
That's all right. I think we should move to the weather, because an environment-based podcast would be nothing if it didn't at some point talk about the weather. And I think, when we discuss inclemency or weird weather or extreme weather, we don't normally think of Dubai, because Dubai is normally just a complete pond of sunshine. And that's why people go there any time of year. You're guaranteed 34 degrees. You can sit around your overcharged swimming pool, enjoy some rays. There's nothing controversial, because it never rains in sunny Dubai until this week.
I like in your pond of sunshine. That must be an alternative description for a desert.
Yes, a man-made one as well.
Well, yeah.
So what's been going on here? For decades, they've not had this kind of rain.
It's the most incredible thing. 18 months worth of rain in one day. The videos online are just stunning. There's a video of what looks like an airplane landing on a lake. There's a fucking runway. It looks like it's under 3 feet of water or more. And it's just incredible. And this actually was the other thing that I talked to our friend JHB, Julia Hartley-Brewer, about. She's in complete denial. She's like, yeah, every time there's a bad weather event, you say it's a climate crisis. I'm like, are you not paying attention? We're having so many extreme weather events. They are absolutely outside of the norm. And there is a link, it is a man-made thing. She said, no, it's all about building on floodplains. I mean, she's confused because that's not happening in Dubai, right? They don't have floodplains in Dubai because they don't have floods or rain, or they do now. And it's absolutely caused by the climate crisis. There's no doubt about it. There's some conspiracy theories online that it's about cloud seeding.
Yeah, apparently the Dubai folks over there in the government went up to seed some clouds, which is a thing, apparently, isn't it? You can do that. But I don't think that's why it pissed hard for 24 hours.
The thing about cloud seeding is, right, it's been around since, 1950. And what you can do is you can cause moisture in the atmosphere to turn to rain. You can do that. But there has to be there in the first place, the moisture. You can't create moisture. You can't create rain. You can just trigger it. This didn't happen in that case. And it couldn't have happened on that scale anyway. There was an incredible amount of moisture in the air. Apparently the hot temperatures made that worse, caused this huge thunderstorm because of the ground temperature compared to the air temperature, caused a big updraft and all kinds of genuine science behind the fact that it wasn't about cloud seeding at all.
Here's a question from John. Are you doing anything to protect large birds of prey, like white-tailed eagle and golden eagle, from colliding with wind turbines?
Yeah.
Sounds like that could have come from Donald Trump.
Yeah. Or Julia Hartley-Brewer. No, I mustn't obsess about her. I think she's scarred me.
Leave it, Dale. Leave it.
I'm dropping it now. The short answer is yes. At the risk of sounding flippant, the answer, how do we do that, is we don't put windmills where the birds hang out. We just don't. We do proper surveys of all of our sites. I mean, everybody in the industry does this. There were some mistakes back in the day, 20, 30 years ago. But, you do proper surveys. What are them bird people called? RSPB. They're all over this. Yeah. They give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down, because they know all about where birds hang out and feed and all that kind of stuff. And you don't get the go-ahead for a wind farm unless you get the all clear from the RSPB, because you won't be affecting birds.
There it is. One from Paula. What is your opinion on the push for people to take up the government grants for air source heat pumps?
Oh.
Because you've got a sort of love-hate relationship or a massive question mark over heat pumps.
I'm a heat pump realist. I've got nothing against them in principle. I have a heat pump, right? Shock horror. I have one. But what I'm saying about the proposed heat pump program, the national one that came from Boris Johnson, which tells you everything you really need to know about it, it's not serious. Nonetheless, they've said we're going to ban gas boilers, force everybody to have a heat pump, blah, blah, blah. We've looked into the technology. We know how it works, looked into the economics, and it's just bad news. In short, energy bills go up when you have a heat pump. You use, more electricity and less gas, but gas is way cheaper than electricity. The net effect is your bills go up. We need to build twice as much renewable energy, renewable electricity as a result because of extra electricity consumption. 20% of British homes can never have one because they're flats and stuff like that. Another 20% need major intervention to keep the temperature of the house livable with a heat pump because they're so leaky, and that has to happen anyway. I get that. And of course, you have to spend $8,000 to get one, and even with government help, it's way more expensive than a boiler. You get water that's less hot. You get massive disruption. I don't know. There's all kinds of things wrong with it. But I'm still not against them. I'm just against the idea that this is the answer to how we get ourselves off of fossil gas. The cost of a national program is about £300 billion, and we have to throw away tens of millions of boilers and cookers and stuff like that. It's a crazy idea when actually all we have to do is change the gas in the gas grid, green gas made from grass. So that's where I stand on heat pumps. They absolutely have a use, and I'm going to say it again. I've got one.
But it works because your place is functional with it, right? Not every place is.
That's right, yeah. It's got a high level of insulation and stuff like that, which is what you have to have because, you get lower temperature heat from a heat pump than you do from a gas boiler. A lot lower.
Let's tie this question in then from Philippa with a sort of bigger story. Keir Starmer calling tax accusations against Angela Rayner a smear. I know you feel quite strongly on a lot of this stuff. We can dovetail in another story about a Tory who can't keep his bits and pieces in his trousers in just a second. But just the point on Angela Rayner. Philippa says, why does it take 12 police officers to establish where Angela Rayner lived during a year? And I was saying this on air the other day, that if you walked into a high street shop and looted it and then came out and punched an old lady in the face and then kicked a dog in the teeth, 12 officers would not show up. But if apparently you filled out a form wrong a decade ago, they will. Yeah,
it's fair, right? And I asked myself the same question. I said, same question online. A lot of people are saying the same thing. Why does it take, and this is the quote from the police is, more than a dozen detectives, not just coppers, detectives, more than a dozen detectives are looking into where did Angie Rayner really live, 5-10 years ago, whenever it was, probably 10 years ago. It doesn't make any sense. It is a smear campaign. The tax at stake is a tiny sum of tax if she was on the wrong side of it, which I don't think she was. it's a lot of fuss over nothing. But really, it's it's kind of not unexpected. I've been hit with allegations of supporting terrorists and making fake diamonds and all kinds of stuff. Do you know what I mean? And this is the game plan. This is the election year, right? And these guys are going to come after anybody prominent that's against them, and they're going to do it in the down and dirtiest way they know how, and that's pretty down and dirty.
Yeah, I mean, sympathizing with terrorism is bad, but sympathizing with terrorism when you also make fake diamonds, that's really bad.
That's why I'm a Bond villain.
It's another level. So I wonder where the Angela Rayner thing's going, because it did get dwarfed in the week, as I was referring to the MP, the Conservative MP for Fylde, who decided to ring an 80-year-old woman in the middle of the night, 3:15 in the morning, and so I need £5,000 quickly. I'm being held against my will. It's a matter of life and death. Essentially, just hadn't paid the rent boy and didn't have enough money, so he thought he'd ring an old lady who used to work for him and ask for the money. She couldn't help. She rang somebody else. They cashed in an ISA because they didn't have the money to help him out. The next day he asked for 35,000 quid to solve some medical bills or something. What the hell is wrong with him? Wow. And previous to that, he'd been kicked out of a ministerial job or a ministerial aid job. Again, there was another rent boy thing, and he was asked to buy drugs. And then 4 years ago, he was in trouble because and you can't make this bit up, Dale, because he got his next door neighbour's dog pissed.
I'm glad you started by saying you can't make this up. Or...
I mean, satirists are going, we're out of work now because we can't write this.
It's beyond.
We can't satirise this. Yeah. And he's lost the whip. And the fact is, the Conservative Party knew about this for 3 months, and it only came out because the Times did an investigation on it. And now he's lost the whip. But prior to that, they were going to remain silent while all of this was bubbling away.
Well, they had remained silent from what you said for the issues that had happened 3 and 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, he had form. On the Angie Rayner scale of police interest, there must be like 50 detectives right now kind of, cracking their knuckles and getting ready to go.
Well, no, I'd go further. I'd say the whole of the Lancashire Constabulary would be on this, wouldn't they? Based on a pro rata situation.
Pro rata, that's right.
The entirety of Lancashire would be out. The county would stop functioning because they'd be investigating Pants Down Pete with his interesting midnight proclivities. His name's not Pete, by the way.
Okay. How many by-elections are going on right now because of dodgy Tory MPs?
It's extraordinary. But hey, let's keep it focused on Angela Rayner, huh?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It reminds me of the dog days of Major when he came out with that ultimately fatal policy idea. What was it? Getting back to basics.
Back to basics, yeah.
Back to basics. And then there was one scandal, one sleaze after another, weren't there?
And what we didn't know at the time is that he was sleeping with Edwina Curry.
That's right.
I mean, you can't satirise this. We found this out sometime later, that actually he was having an affair himself.
Just madness.
Yeah. But he's making the Major government look like angels, at the moment. I mean, it's extraordinary.
Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible. It's beyond belief almost. It's a bit like, it's like Trump. Trump's first term, and he may well get a second, he was beyond satire. He was so ridiculous. You couldn't make that stuff up. Maybe even the fact that he won, would have been an extraordinary plot of a novel. To have a guy like him win the American election. Extraordinary. And then what he went on to do and what he's doing now and what he's saying. I mean, I've seen some sketches of him sitting glumly in court this week. His first criminal prosecution that he's facing, and there's dozens more coming. It's quite incredible, but it's real.
It is indeed. Couple more to finish off with. Helen says, "Has the Just Vote 24 campaign been officially launched?"
I'm going to say no. It's out in the world, and we're talking to lots of people about it, but we haven't begun because we don't know when the election will be. And, we want to time our run, as we say in football, but let's not talk about football.
Well, we might have to, because the last question comes from Sean, who says, what's next for Forest Green Rovers? It's been a tricky season. I think we could say that.
Yeah, it's been another bad season, and we got relegated this week. Somebody won a game. Colchester won a game, and it made it mathematically impossible for us to pull out of this tailspin. We're out of the tailspin now. We appoint a new manager in January, and his performance with our players is mid-table. So we put it right, but just too late in the season to avoid relegation. So another relegation, but I'm quite positive about it, apart from the fact that it's painful and nobody wanted it and we did everything we can to avoid it. We've got a great manager. We've got a recruitment window coming up. We're about to open our training facilities at Eco Park for the first time. We've got 2 brilliant new pitches, hybrid pitches and great facilities. And all of that it's all infrastructure. It's all kind of foundations for us to build ourselves back up. And, our aim is simply to get back to where we've already been, back into the EFL and back on the mission to get to the championship.
Dale, we're speaking a week.
I'm already looking forward to it.
Me too. That's it for this week. We're back, of course, in 7 days. Don't forget to follow this podcast so you get each new episode automatically. Really crucial bit, follow Dale on social media. That's twitter.com/DaleVince, facebook.com/DaleVince, and on TikTok too.
Yeah.
Zero carbon
East of.